I'm joined by Associate Professor Brendan O'Connor. He's from the US Studies Centre. Brendan, appreciate your time. It's a big couple of days, of course, ahead as we look forward to the inauguration of Joe Biden. It's going to be an event like no other, really, won't it? There's the COVID risk for starters, but also Washington, D.C. essentially barricaded up with authorities working really hard to ensure there are no surprises, no repeats of the violence we saw in the Capitol earlier this month.
Yes, I mean, in some ways, a deflating event. Usually presidents come in with a lot of fanfare, but necessarily there's caution regarding the coronavirus. You know, I just saw the latest figures that nearly 400,000 Americans have died, remarkable numbers during the American winter of up to 4,000 people dying a day. So caution on that front. You don't want a mass spreader event, a super spreader event. Similarly, the terrible events of January 6th, violence at the Capitol, police officer killed, and unnecessary, other injuries, extremism in the US Capitol. So there's a lot of caution with the security this time around, well prepared for anything that might happen, everyone holding their breath.
Yeah, and also so there's a lot of expectation around what could happen over the short period now before Donald Trump officially hands over. Are you expecting tomorrow's bulletins here on Sky will be full of headlines about presidential pardons? It seems to be there is an expectation that Donald Trump will pardon around 100 people in the final hours of his presidency.
Yes, I mean, adding, I think, to the claims of corruption that Trump is open for office, that there'll be kickbacks from these pardons. Unedifying pardons are generally unedifying. You go back to the Bush administration, Clinton administration, some of the pardons really questionable. But with Trump, even more so, people like Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, his political allies, who'd been found, Michael Flynn, the short-term national security advisor, found lying, found committing crimes, but letting them off because they work closely with him. So I expect there to be a bit of a rogues gallery over the next few days of people that Donald Trump will pardon.
And what's your expectation about pardoning members of his own family? There's been speculation he could pardon himself, although that wouldn't necessarily save him from certain prosecutions that some are suggesting he may face over the coming time. What are we expecting for Trump in terms of what comes next?
Well, the pardoning yourself would be the final act of narcissism, wouldn't it? I mean, something that no other president has even thought of. Famously, Ford pardoned Nixon when he came in as president after Watergate, and that did save Nixon the possibility of being up for criminal offences, which you could imagine possibly Trump being sort of drawn into some of the criminal trials to do with the police officer being shot and killed in the Capitol building. Some of the injuries to police officers that he could be seen as quite clearly and fairly as inciting that riot. So that will be something wearing on his mind that he can't really do much about with a pardon. Members of the family, the extended family, Jared Kushner's father has already been pardoned. So this is almost taken as like a sort of a princely or a king's prerogative at this point. And it doesn't feed into the image of America as a great democracy when you have this, I think, extended power that probably shouldn't be there.
Back home, we've seen today Scott Morrison spoken with some of the most powerful people in the Trump administration ahead of the big day. He's spoken with Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo. He hasn't spoken with Trump himself, notably, though. What does a Joe Biden presidency mean for Australia? What changes to the relationship, if any, can we expect?
Yes, I'm not surprised he hasn't spoken with Trump. I think most leaders at this point would very much want themselves from Donald Trump. Is someone who strongly believes in alliances. I mean, this is Australia's kind of great interest in the United States, the alliance with the United States alliance. Biden is,
World War, not everyone is. Those are fading, but Biden is in some ways a throwback to the generations of, say, George H.W. Bush. And that kind of atmospherics generally is good for Australia. Australia will see this as something to, be encouraged about. But Biden has some other ideas on issues like climate change. He'll rejoin the Paris climate accords as one of his first acts. So there won't be complete sort of unanimity with Australia. They won't agree on all issues. But I think on the general sense that America is going to play a role in the world, alliances are important, Australia will welcome a Biden administration.
And what about China? How might Biden handle China differently?
Well, that will be the thing. Many of us will be watching closely. You know, Biden is surrounded by people who are foreign policy experts, long-time China watchers like Kurt Campbell involved, people who have seen the various mistakes, quite frankly, America has made on China. Campbell has been very close to the Obama administration, very close to Biden, has admitted that America hasn't always got China right, that sometimes it's expected more of China than China has delivered in terms of its commitment to international kind of laws, international norms. So what learning occurs, how tough the United States is on China will be hard to sort of guess in the immediacy, but America needs to get its own house in order. You know, it needs to get on top of COVID. It needs to present itself as a democracy. So I think dealing with foreign affairs inevitably has to come secondary to getting on top of just these enormous problems that in many ways Donald Trump was never particularly interested in, dealing with the coronavirus or even some of the economic fallout from the crisis. So Biden's got his hands filled domestically and will have to leave, I think, quite a lot of the foreign policy running up to other people in the administration, and that's how it should be. It should be a team. It's not just one person. It's not a one-man show. So that, you know, that will mean we've got to get to know a whole bunch of other names and characters who'll be, you know, running foreign affairs.
Yep, plenty of challenges ahead for the incoming administration. Brendan O'Connor, appreciate your analysis. Thank you.
My pleasure.